Hey guys, today in this video I will be talking about my UCAS essay and the tips to writing a good essay for the UCAS system. So in case you don't know, UCAS is the application system for all of the UK schools. Through that application system, you're only allowed to submit one essay that will be used as your personal statement for like all of the schools, UK schools that you apply to. So it is very essential that in this essay you demonstrate who you are as a person, especially why you're interested in the subject that you're applying for. What's different about the UCAS essay for as compared to, for example, application essays for the American universities and colleges is that it is a very direct personal statement. It is not requiring you to like write a full story about your life or like give an interesting snapshot of your life. Rather, it is a simple personal statement explaining your interest in the subject that you're applying for and your relevant experiences related to your interests and your major, your applied course of study. So for me, I applied in my application season, I applied for economics and only economics for all of the schools that I applied to, which was only 5. So throughout my entire UCAS essay, I was basically explaining like how the interests in economics stemmed for me, and then how what kind of steps did I take to expand and explore all of my interests in economics, and like what specifically within the subject was I interested in. And then I back these up with the experiences and extracurriculars that I did in high school. And yeah, that was basically all of my essay. So I guess I would just really want to talk about several tips that I want to give to all of you. The first one is be very direct, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this essay. So like UCAS essay, it is a personal statement. It is a statement of your interest in a course of study, not an explanation of like your entire background of a story in your life. So just make sure that you're always talking about your interest in the subject, your interest in the course that you apply to, instead of explaining your entire background. Yeah, that's one thing that you need to keep in mind, because it's very different from the application and the essays for for US schools. And then I would suggest that at the very beginning of your UCAS personal statement, in the first paragraph, explicitly state why you are interested in the subject that you're applying for, with potentially some of the personal anecdotes and experiences that you had. So for example, in my case, because I applied for economics, I said that my fascination of economics was sparked by its broad perspectives, penetrating insights, and rigorously constructed logic. So I basically talked about these 3 exact reasons of why economics was very interesting to me and why I wanted to apply for this course of study. Because 1, it has very broad perspectives, 2, it has penetrating insights, and 3, it has rigorously constructed logic. So these are the 3 reasons that for me, like why I applied to this particular subject, and I sort of expanded on each of the reasons in the 3 body paragraphs that I've written in my personal statement. So this is something that's very important, and I know that many of my friends, when they applied for other subjects, they would also write personal anecdotes in their first paragraph, directly showing that how their interest in this subject stemmed, like why it was ignited at the very beginning. For example, if you're applying for biology, you may have an example of for example, someone may say, oh, I've always been very caring about animals around me, and for example, one day I saw that this stray cat getting hurt, and this compassion for all of the animals out there really ignited my interest to study biology and to use biology as a means to help what I love, to help the animals around me and stuff like that. I know this is a very bad example, but I feel like you may know what I'm saying, right? The next tip that I want to give is to expand on your specific interests. So what I mean by that is to instead of using general words and sentences in your personal statement explaining your interests, you would rather want to expand on what specifically you're interested in within this subject. for example, for economics, you don't just want to say that, oh, I'm very interested in economics because I feel like economics is very useful. I like it for whatever like reasons. Like that is not enough. You want to pinpoint specific points of interest for you, like as a potential applicant, as an applicant for this subject. In my case, within like the general broad field of economics, I was really interested in one, like development. So that was like what I talked about in my first paragraph, about development economics, about economic growth, about productivity, about like the labor market and stuff. And the second point of interest for me in within the economics field was in behavioral economics, which is this intersection between economics and psychology. So in the second paragraph, I sort of expanded around the topic of behavioral economics and like behavioral incentives and how that may be used in everyday life to solve problems. And in the third paragraph, I talked about like or sort of the third specific interest in economics for me was the application of math, like the use of mathematics within the subject economics. So that is like also the theme that I expanded around for the third main paragraph that I've written about. So like you can see that actually for all of the three paragraphs, each of them evolved around a specific subfield of this entire subject that I was applying for. So this really showed that the admission officers that like I had a clear idea of what the subject is, instead of only trying to say that I like this subject because I like this subject, you know what I mean? So like you have to show that you know what is in this subject, what is in economics, like what are the subfields of economics. You have to show that you explore this subject and you know like what specifically you're interested in, and to show them what you've done in these sub areas. So I guess going back to the previous point as well, like in terms of having clearly stated reasons for why I like this subject. So in my essay, I sort of structured in a way that like in the first body paragraph, I talked about, as I mentioned, development economics, and that was sort of related to the first interest that I was interested in economics, which is like the broad perspectives, whereas the second paragraph, it expanded around the topic of behavioral economics. And the main point I was trying to say in here is that how economics provide us with penetrating insights, which is my second reason. And as for my third reason, rigorously constructed logic, I used my interest in the mathematics sides of economics to explain this reason for my interest in the subject overall. So yeah, you can see like how you can combine your exact reasons with the like subfields that you're interested in to make them different paragraphs explaining, like do a well-rounded explanation for both your reason and your specific interest. The third tip that I want to give to all of you is to make sure that you use your personal experiences, you use your competition experiences, you use your like extracurriculars and all different kinds of your exploration within this subject area to support your explanation of why you like the subject. Please keep in mind though that the UCAS personal statement is not like a full retale of everything you have done related to the subject. Instead of saying I've done this, I've done that, and they show all of these experiences together show that I am someone that's very into this subject. Do not say this. Instead, explain why you're interested in the subject while using these experiences and extracurriculars to like act as evidence to your argumentation. So for example, in my economics personal statement, I would have this for example, this sentence saying, my knowledge in this matter was subsequently helpful in achieving the first place in this competition and that competition. It's like this not only sort of summarized my insights into the specific matter I was talking about, but also brought out like my extracurricular, my competitions that I attended, and like my performances in those competitions. It leave like a very strong impression on the admission officer as they finish reading this paragraph. Fourthly, I would also want to suggest that after each paragraph, after each of the reasons or like each of the subfield that you have talked about, make sure to include a concluding sentence that sort of summarizes what you have gained out of this out of all of these experiences within this subfield, and like your new recognition, your new realization of what the subject is like. So for example, after I talked about my interest in the use of mathematics in economics, I ended up saying including a sentence of like my realization and what the experiences taught me. For example, economics trains me to acquire the ability to analyze economic policies from a combined perspective of conceptual interpretation and data analysis. So like this concluding sentence, it is able to actually show the admission officers that after my experience, I am able to reflect upon it and synthesize on the experience that I had, realizing that like economics is a combination of both conceptual understanding and of data analysis. So like it's on the verge of conception, of concepts, of interpretation, and data analysis and computation, which is a huge part of what I learned from like this, my third paragraph talking about mathematics and economics. And I guess the last tip I would want to give is like for the conclusion part of your UCAS personal statement, is that like it should not be very long, just a couple of sentences. You will want to say like after like what you hope to get out of studying this course. Like for example, in the future, by studying this course at college, what would you want to do with it in the future? Like why, for example, do you see studying economics as a good way for you to achieve your higher goals, higher like dreams and stuff? So like for me, I wrote that at university I am determined to equip myself with the skills and perspectives to pursue a lifelong career in societal matters, in solving societal matters by improving policymaking and helping those in need around the world. Because at least at the time when I applied, I always thought of economics as this very useful tool for me, and this perspective for me to see, analyze, interpret, and even try to solve the difficult societal matters out here in the world. For example, inequality, for example, the wealth gap. I saw economics as a means for me to like after pursuing this subject, I will want to use the knowledge and the degree to help me get into the world of policy making and to improve policies, public policies, and try to improve on those societal problems as well. Yeah. So with that being said, I suppose that those are like all of my tips about writing a good UCAS personal statement. And just let me know if you have any questions in the comment section down below. And at last, please like my videos if you enjoy watching them, and subscribe to keep updated on many more other contents related to college application and my life in college in general in the future. See ya!